you think less men want to get married today?
Yes. We are the creators of our own reality.
We can have anything we want, but we can't have everything we want.
It's all about protection, isn't it? Everyone's trying to protect themselves.
What do you think men are trying to protect themselves from?
It's tough out here for men.
What I'm trying to say is, this is why guys run. Because you said,
in a
if you
year,
can't do it within a year.
You can't get everything done in a year. Like, I'm sure you had money before that, no?
I'm talking to save 50 grand in a year. Yo guys, welcome back to another episode on my channel. I'm sitting in this spot, which means I've got a great conversation lined up for you today. You know, on this channel, we love to talk about all things dating, relationships, and seeing what we can do to attract the kind of person and relationship we want. So without further ado, please welcome back to the show, Sukaina.
Hello.
Here she is, man.
I'm back.
She's come back. She's got a glow up. You know, she's in a new space within herself.
Thank you for having me back. I love being on here.
Man, we always have such great conversations.
We do.
And the thing is, even if we come from different perspectives, right, it's always a place of construction, and people really love this. They really love this. And you've also grown a lot throughout our episodes. At one point, we might have to do like a reaction to our first episode.
Yeah,
It'd
but
be
like I've
so
been on
much
a real
fun.
journey, haven't I?
You actually have. But you know me, I love to jump straight in. So tell us your age or your age range and something a guy should know about you if you want to take on a date.
Okay, well, I just turned 30.
Come on.
So
Congratulations.
thank you. I feel good, you know? I'm in the 30s club.
100%.
One thing that a guy should know about me, just think out the box.
Okay, in what sense?
Just don't be afraid to like tap into your creative side. Do something different. Take me somewhere different.
Okay.
You know, it doesn't just have to be a boring dinner. It could be like, we could go to the theatre. We could go to a fashion show. We can go to a gallery.
Yeah.
You know, so
it doesn't have to be fancy dinners anymore.
No, I'm kind of bored of that. I've done that.
Okay.
I'm bored. I want something different. Like, take me to an event.
Yeah, I hear that. Would you do like a cycle ride in Hyde Park?
Maybe not so much.
That's different. That's an activity.
But I would go to like, I don't know, some sort of like fair or...
Okay.
I'd do something like that.
Yeah, I get
different.
That. I get that. First off, you were on Celebs Go Dating recently.
Yes.
What was that like?
Do you know what? It was a fun experience because I've never done anything like that before.
Yeah.
And I'm the type of person, I never really like push myself. I never take myself out of my comfort zone too much. So that was very like out of my comfort zone. But it was really fun. Like I went on a date with Chris Taylor from Love Island, and he was a character. Like how he is on TV is very similar to how he is in real life.
Okay.
He really does have that like humor and the banter. It didn't work out, but I ended up making a really good friend on there.
Chris, was he your type?
He wasn't my type, no. But then it was all about challenging myself or like maybe dating people outside of my you know, circle and things like that. But yeah, I think we were two completely different people. Like he's very much like, I would say he's very quirky, which there's nothing wrong with that. But he's also like a bit too open-minded for me. Like he's got
too open-minded.
Well, he's got loads of girlfriends, like girl mates.
Yeah.
And that's just not for me. Like that's not for me.
What would you say to the guys that are just like, oh, you're just insecure?
What, to me?
Yeah, be like, oh, if your boyfriend has met female friends, you're just insecure.
But I don't think the guy would be okay with me having guy friends.
I feel like a lot of guys have to accept his girlfriend having guy friends because otherwise he'll be called insecure.
Yeah, but again, maybe it is just the guys that I've dated, but they have just always been like, no guy friends.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, like it's just like a...
Do you think that's a fair standard for guys to have?
Okay, really and truly, I feel like I don't believe that men and women can just be friends. I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, but it's true. I just don't think so. I don't know. I don't think so.
I'll be honest, I mainly agree.
Yeah.
I think there's exceptions to the rule.
I think there's always a level of attraction.
Yeah. I think the only way it can work is if he does not find her attractive.
Yeah.
That's the only way. Because I think, and tell me if I'm wrong, I think that women can still be platonic with guys they find attractive, because maybe his personality isn't what they're looking for, maybe who he is, or like, we're not
you
compatible,
definitely find
right?
it easier,
100%. And generally speaking, women wouldn't sleep with a guy that they wouldn't at least consider some kind of potential. We know guys will sleep with women they don't consider all the time. So if a guy finds a girl attractive, by default, he would sleep with her, even if he wouldn't take her seriously.
Yeah.
So if he finds a girl attractive who's a friend, he would definitely go there at some point.
He
would be open to it, even if maybe she wouldn't, but he would. But I think it only really works if she might find him attractive. That's fine, but he cannot find a girl attractive.
Yeah, like I agree with you. And also, like, he might have one of those random spontaneous days where he's just like, okay, I don't find her attractive, but oh well. And he might still try.
Might still try.
I don't know. Like, I see that happening.
I have a few female friends and I love them to pieces, but I wouldn't be physical with them. That's why we can be friends. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's something you want to bring to conversation? I'm going to give the floor to you.
Well, I feel like we're in a dating crisis right now.
2025 dating crisis, baby.
It's so dramatic. But if anyone's going to be able to shed some light on this for us, it would definitely be you. Dating coach, you need to give us some words of comfort here because everyone is really struggling. And I know, like, my audience is primarily females. I get hundreds of DMs every day saying, you know, I went on a date with a guy and he's not called me back, or I'm texting a guy and he still hasn't asked to take me on a date. It's been 3 weeks of texting. He still hasn't offered to take me on a date. What is going on out here?
So true. Okay, let's start with the latter, right?
Yeah.
You're talking to a guy, he still hasn't asked to take you on a date. There can be a few reasons why. The first reason, which is let's go with the good intentional reason, is that for a lot of guys, they understand they don't want to ask too soon if she's not ready, because that can come across as being pushy.
Okay.
Right? Now, there are some girls, like, if you match with her on a dating app, some girls are like, yeah, I'm happy to meet up in a couple of days. Let's grab a coffee or grab some food and let's get to know each other.
Right.
But some girls are like, no, I want to talk to you for a week or two.
Oh, okay.
Before I feel comfortable to meet up with you in person. Now, if a guy's just matched with you, he doesn't know which one you are. So it is safer for him to go, okay, I'm going to assume she wants to talk for a bit before she feels comfortable, rather than risk trying to meet up too soon. And she's like, he's really pushy. I'm not about it. That's giving me the ick. That's turned me off. Right?
Okay.
So that's the good intentional reason.
Okay.
The not so good intentional reason can be because if he's an attractive guy, right? Attractive, desirable to some degree, 9 times out of 10, there's more than one woman on the scene, right? And maybe he's just involved with 1 or 2, maybe even 3 other women. Yeah. Where he's keeping you on the back burner. That happens. Yeah. Right? Now, you know, especially with women that I work with and that I coach, there's a way that you can invite him to ask you out and recognizing that opportunity. So, for example, if he says, like, you know, he might just be like, oh, you know, like, what are you up to this weekend or something, right? Yeah. You as a woman, you can go, oh, well, you know, I'm grabbing brunch with my friends on Saturday, but I'm free Saturday evening. What did you have in mind?
Oh, I like that. That's very
now, even if he wasn't even asking to ask you out, because you're making that invitation for him to pursue you, which is what the feminine does. Yes. He'll go, oh, wow, I didn't have anything in mind, but now I should. Okay, yeah, hey, why don't we do this? Right? Because what that tells him, A, you're open to meeting with him now. You're giving him that consent. But also, B, instead of keeping it in the pen pally zone, you're inviting him to pursue you. Yes. Right? You're providing that avenue. And he goes, oh, okay, cool. And if he likes you, he will take that avenue. Right. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I like that.
Do you know what I mean?
That's really good.
What was the first thing you said?
Why are they taking so long?
Why did it take so long to go out? There's something before texting, or just something about not committing. You said something else. Oh, why?
He's if she went on one date.
Yes.
And then after that, he's just not initiating more dates, or he's just pulled his energy back. He's not replying.
Yeah. Yeah. One, it could be because he went on a date and was just like, this isn't the girl for me.
Yeah.
But sometimes so many of us people, they won't directly say, hey, it was really nice to meet you.
Yeah.
You're a lovely person, but I just wasn't feeling it. I think a lot of the time guys don't want to be that confrontational with women because they think they can't handle it. So they will drip off. That can happen. It could happen. This happens less often, but it could happen where if they've been messaging and flirting and stuff, and if she was giving very, how can I say this, sexually open vibes, where he was getting the impression that, oh, you know, she's open to us having a drink, come back to mine, we see where the night goes, and then it doesn't happen.
He's just kind of like,
he's just kind of like, oh, okay, cool. Like she's, but then he can feel a bit misled, is what I should say.
Yeah, but then I would say that means you weren't being intentional about, well, you were, but you had the wrong intentions in a way. You're not out for commitment, basically.
Yes, but yeah,
you just wanted to pull.
That can be it for sure. However, if she was speaking to him in a way that was very sexually open.
Yeah, she was kind of giving him ideas.
Right. Because the thing is, a guy can be open to having a relationship, but that doesn't mean he won't still date someone casually.
Right.
Right? Because the girl...
Is that every guy?
Definitely most guys, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So a guy can be open to a relationship. I'm just going to be completely real with you. I'm going to give you some serious girl game. A guy can be dating a girl seriously, but still be sleeping one or two other girls casually.
Yeah.
To them, he will be like, I'm not looking for anything serious. To the girl who's taken seriously, he's like, obviously investing, it's actually going somewhere. When that then becomes exclusive, that's when he calls it off.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Does that make sense?
Giving us some game here.
Yeah. What about on the girl's side? Because the girls date multiple guys at the same time, right?
Like, you know what? I'm going to be real. Right now, what we're seeing at the moment is the women are flipping the script. They have got a whole roster. And I think guys honestly don't like that. They don't like the idea of women having a roster, do they?
But are they, when you say a roster, are these women sleeping with these guys?
No. So it's called high value dating, essentially, where they're not being intimate with these men, but they are just being courted. They are being wined and dined. They are just being like impressed and wooed.
Are they intentional with each man or not?
Well, I think the goal of this and what they're kind of trying to do here is it's basically may the best man win. That's really what's happening here. High value dating is about women just having like 5 guys on the go, and then she's going to see which one is coming in the strongest and which one is pursuing her the hardest and which one she feels like aligns with what she's looking for in life. That's what a lot of girls are doing now, because they've done the whole kind of just dating one guy, seeing how it goes, putting your eggs in one basket. And then they're just left really disappointed. And the guy's like fallen off the earth. He's pulled his energy back. He's not speaking. So women are like, no, we want to do this. We want to have a roster so that we're not giving just one man our energy, if that makes sense.
Okay, I get that.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely against that, but that is very short-lived, because for a lot of guys, if it's not progressing physically, they're going to move on because they're going to be like, oh, she just has no desire for me.
Right.
So like, I'd be very, very surprised if she was dating 4 or 5 different guys for more than a few months and it didn't go physical with any of them.
Well, I mean, I had a friend recently who was doing this. She had a roster. And she was dating one guy, and it was like they've been dating for like 4 months, but it was basically just this courting for 4 months. Nothing was happening, but he was just buying her presents, taking her out. Nothing was happening.
Did they kiss?
They kissed, but it didn't go past that.
For 4 months?
For 4 months. And he was happy to be just going so slow with her, because I think he said that he just came out of a relationship. So he was like still a bit kind of, I guess, trying to get his groove back. Okay. I don't know.
And she was dating other guys?
She was dating other guys,
Was she kissing the other guys?
I don't know. Probably. I don't know. Probably. I don't know. But she's not exclusive with anyone.
It's true. And like...
And they haven't had a conversation.
No, I completely agree. But if I was dating a girl for 3 or 4 months and I was buying her gifts and all this stuff and I found out she was lipsing other guys, I would call that immediately. I'd be like, cool, you didn't do anything wrong, but clearly I'm just not the guy for you. Because if we've been dating for that long and naturally we know as men, as a woman, when you see the guy that you want and it's going that direction, you're not open to kissing other guys. You might go on dates, you might go on another date, makes you feel good, guys takes you out, gives you some validation. But if you're kissing other guys, you don't have that desire for me. Okay. And that's okay.
That's valid.
But then that means that I'm not the guy for you.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get that. I think with women, they're kind of practicing the law of detachment now with men. And that is really what's happening here. High value dating is just being in that detached mindset where like you're not connected to anyone. You're not emotionally attached to anyone. There's no emotional attachment to anyone. You're literally just like, okay, may the best man win. And then in the end, you just pick the right one and you never know, you might end up marrying him.
I get that. I understand, and I can understand why they would want to do that approach.
You don't think it works?
I think it actually does more harm to them than good, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
You're doing may the best man win, but that means you're not actually choosing the man you want.
Yeah.
You're choosing the man who is willing to do the most.
Yeah.
In the dating phase.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily mean that he is a man who is integral with you, who is a guy who has your best intentions at heart, that you will even have a connection with this guy. Right?
Valid.
Now, if you're operating in a place, let's say they're going on dates, etc. Maybe they're just kissing these guys, right? We'll say kissing these. She's not sleeping with all of them, but she's exercising a level of detachment, right? That is not natural for a feminine woman.
Yeah, it's not natural for a feminine woman.
To be physical with a guy, to be physical and to operate from a place of detachment, that's a very masculine way to date. And that's a big reason why the dating world the landscape is so messed up, because a lot of women are dating a very masculine way. Sure, these women aren't sleeping with them. I'm talking about a lot of women who be sleeping with guys trying to be detached and stuff. But if you're going to operate from a place of detachment, you might choose the guy who wants you, but that doesn't mean you will choose the guy that you want. Because in every relationship, there's always what they call the adorer and the adored.
Yeah, the runner and the chaser, right?
Well, you can say runner and chaser, but I guess what I mean is there's always tend to be someone who will want the other person a bit more.
Yeah, right? But it should be the man always, because women naturally love more. They're always going to give you more.
What do you mean?
Like women naturally just always end up giving more.
But I mean, from what you said about these courting, it sounds like all the men are giving her everything and she's not giving them anything.
Yeah, because they still haven't been chosen, if that makes sense. So they're waiting to be picked right now.
Okay.
That's what it is.
Okay, so when you say give more, less outside of sex, what is she going to be giving to them?
In a relationship, women just give more. They give their whole life force. They give their
whole life
energy.
Force?
Yeah, they do.
You don't think men give their life force?
I'm going to be real with you. I feel like the way men see relationships, and this is just how I see it, like, I think men find like an empty space in their life and they'll fit that relationship in. Whereas everything else they're prioritizing, but then they're like, oh, I've got a little small gap there. I'm going to put that woman in. That's how men see it. Whereas women are emotionally driven. They get fulfillment out of relationships. Whereas you guys chase like status and growth and personal goals. And those are the things that fulfill you guys. So naturally, you're just going to want to give more to those things, right? And the relationships like aren't really that high on your list of priorities, right?
Sure. I don't disagree with you. So I'd say that you're right, that a masculine man, should we say, focuses on his purpose. His focus is not a woman.
Yeah.
And a feminine woman, her focus is connection and intimacy. Absolutely right. Completely fair. But by default, because most women want to be with a man that they can look up to, right? A man who is more successful, more experienced, more confident, leadership qualities. By default, that means most women want to be with a man who tangibly supersedes them. Which means in order for you to even be interested, he has to be bringing more value than you do. Otherwise, you wouldn't be with him. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, why would you choose a man who's not going to improve your life?
No.
Right.
True.
But
Valid.
the only way he can improve where you are is if he's in a better position than you already. If he is better than you in a lot of aspects.
Yeah.
So in order to even get on the date, by default, a man has to be bringing way more value than she is. Otherwise, she wouldn't even be there. That's just the way it is. Fair enough. So when it comes to, for example, when we're talking about, I think there's intangibles that women bring to the relationship, right? Which I would agree. So I think like a woman's feminine presence, that level of support, women know how to protect a man's spirit. That's very powerful, right? So I think there's intangible things that a woman does bring to the relationship. But I think the difference is the things that are the tangible things that a man does have to bring. If the relationship ends, right, those things are gone. When a relationship ends for you as a woman, the intangibles, you take that with you.
Okay.
Right? So a lot of the time, when you're talking about the adorer and the adored, right, who wants who more, because the relationship is a priority in a woman's life for it to be fulfilling, that's why she needs to be the adorer. She needs to be the one who wants him more, because you can either, and this is a quote from Orion Taraban, you can either be with the person you love or be loved by the person you're with. I think it is, I understand. On the ears, it sounds like, no, I want to be the person who gets, who's adored.
I think everyone wants to be like that person,
we think
don't they?
that.
Yeah.
We think that, but we have to understand that if you are the adorer, it means you get to be with the person you love. And that's the highest level of emotional experience that you can have. And I think the emotional experience of a relationship is more important to a woman than a man.
Yeah, I get it. I really do understand everything that you're saying. But I think what's happening now is the women are choosing to go with the man that adores them most.
As a way of protecting themselves,
but also just living the life that they want. It's all about living a life that they want now. They don't, because they've been with the guys who they chose, right? They liked, they were madly in love with, and it hasn't worked out. And actually,
I understand.
I even agree, because looking back on some of the people that I've dated in the past, when I've chose the guy because I really loved him and I was like crazy about him, it never works. But then whenever I've been in a relationship where the guy obviously adores me more, I've been treated like a queen.
Yeah, but what I would say is that the reason it didn't work wasn't because he was the one that you wanted. It would have been other things. Because if you don't mind me saying, and you've said this on the previous episodes anyway, your previous, not the most recent ex, but the person you were with when we first met, he adored you.
The one that I nearly got engaged to.
Yeah. The one that you nearly got engaged to, right? He adored you.
Yeah, he did.
Treated you like a princess.
He did, yeah.
But who left who?
I left him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now here's the thing.
But I want to find, like, it's all about, and I say this to women as well, it's about finding the one who adores you, but then he also needs to have some of the qualities that the other guy has. Because what we're talking about when we say the guy who adores you is really the golden retriever. Yeah, that's and women need to be like funny. With somebody that has golden retriever like traits, but then also has the kind of traits of the typical kind of like alpha male masculine guy that they fall for, but isn't texting them back.
I get you.
But it's hard to find that.
You can't have everything. That doesn't exist.
Yeah. No, don't say that to us.
So I understand.
We are the creators of our own reality.
We are. I agree with you. But human beings are not perfect.
No, that's true.
We can have anything we want, but we can't have everything we want. So I understand what's happened for a lot of the women that you're talking about. They've had these bad experiences. So now they want to be in a relationship where they are in control because that's what feels safe.
Yeah.
I completely understand that. I'm not saying there's any right or wrong. But what I'm trying to help you see is that you can either be in control or you can be in love, but you cannot be both. Because being in love,
I like control.
You can choose that. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. But then you will find yourself in the kind of relationship they had before where he will adore you. He's that golden retriever.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you might feel part of you where you are settling, especially if you've been with that kind of guy that you were so for, where you really adored him. Because the kind of alpha guy, etc., the kind of leader, he's not going to submit to your control.
But I feel like I had that in the last relationship. So not the one that I was meant to be engaged to, but the one just previous.
Yeah.
I felt like I got that happy medium that I wanted.
Great.
Because it was like I was adored and literally treated like a queen. But then it was also somebody that I liked and respected. Because the other one I didn't, unfortunately.
Yep. So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
You don't have to answer this.
Yeah.
If tomorrow a gun was put to your head and you had to marry one of those two men, the guy you just said,
oh my God,
or the guy who would adored you, which one would you choose?
Probably like the recent one.
That's my point.
Yeah. Okay. But that's attractive because ultimately that's what women want. They don't just want the nice guy. They want the nice guy, but he has to have some of the other qualities as well. Like he needs to have strong boundaries. He needs to have that bite.
Sure, but from, we kind of briefly spoke about it, but from what you told me about the guy that you would choose, this whole thing of you dating, being courted by multiple guys, like I said, that would not last long because he would not accept that.
No, he wouldn't, 100%. I mean, I think he was very, very honest about that in the beginning. But see, the thing is, the whole point of that evaluation process for women is about finding like a gem. So it's like if she does meet somebody that she feels like is performing really well. Sorry, I know it sounds really transactional.
I hear you. It is transactional though.
Yeah.
I'm not making any judgments on that.
Yeah, no, currently it's like this is how women are thinking. Like generally these are the kind of DMs I receive on a daily basis.
Sure.
But I feel like in that evaluation process, the whole point is to find a gem, like to find somebody that you're like, okay, he's worth me kind of committing to. So for me, it was like, I'm not going to lie, like I was dating other people. Like I was when I say dating, I was talking to people. I always have men speaking to me always, but it's just whether I want to give them access. But when I was getting to know this recent one, he was introduced to me by somebody that was interested in me in the first place. That guy was trying to pursue me and he was his friend. So that is already the tone. So he kind of knew that there were men after me. So I think in his head, he was like, I got to lock this in straight away. So he performed really well. Like he came in, gave a show and he got picked. Instantly. Like I picked him after 3 dates. I was like, cool, I'll be your girlfriend.
I completely get that.
So I didn't even want to entertain anyone else because I was like, I found a gem.
But that's exactly my point. You literally just said when you found the guy that you wanted, you didn't entertain anyone else. You didn't want to.
But he was doing what I wanted. This guy was literally, it's like somebody gave him a manual handbook and was like, this is how you impress Sukaina. And he came in, he was like, yeah, she wants a masculine guy. Boom, I'm masculine. I tell her to turn her brain off. She turns her brain off. Like these are all the things that she's wanted. So I was like, oh my God, where did this man come in? He literally came in like Superman. But I don't know whether that was an act or whether he was just literally doing what he needed to do to get in there.
I get you. He
got picked. It worked.
I understand that, but like you said, it was after 3 dates.
Yeah.
So, when I said earlier
very
about
soon
how like the kind of guy that women actually want, after 3-4 months, you think you're going to be still dating other guys? I'm out.
Yeah.
Like, and not in the sense of that she's doing anything wrong, but it's like, if a guy knows what he wants, because it sounds like he knew what he wanted.
Yeah.
Right? So he was like, Sukaina is what I want. I'm showing my intention. This is how I'm going about it.
Yeah.
Right? And he was like, look, I want us to be in a relationship. You either want this or you don't.
Yeah. That's literally how he said it to me.
100%.
So direct.
So with that, you didn't really have the chance to be courted by the guys for several months.
No.
It would not have flown with this guy. He would have been like, okay, cool. This isn't for me. So I understand you're like, oh, that was the balance. But what happened was you were open to being courted by several guys, but the alpha came in and said, no, you're mine. And you said, okay.
He won, like made the best man win, and he was the best man at the time.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Were there other guys who had been dating you before him up to that point?
There was a lot of men kind of waiting in line, basically.
Right. So this is my point. The kind of guy that you actually want would not be the kind of guy waiting in line. And so the women who are like being caught by 4 or 5 guys, these guys who are just waiting in line, the actual man that they would want,
I get it,
would not be one of those guys.
Quality over quantity.
That's what I'm saying. Because the kind of guy that you go, this is the guy I want to be with, etc. He's not going to tolerate you being caught by, he's definitely not going to tolerate you kissing 3, 4 different guys if he's investing in you 2, 3 months. No freaking way. No way. The guy who's going to be like, yeah, babe, you choose whenever you're ready. You choose the guy you want. I hope it's me. Sukaina, you're not going to respect a guy like that. You're not going to respect the man who does that.
Probably not.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, probably not.
So I understand why the women are doing it. There's no right or wrong, right? Because sometimes for some of us, it's like, okay, I'd rather be in control than be in love because that feels safe for me. Get it? For some people, it's like, no, I'd rather be with the person I love because the emotional fulfillment is what's super important to me. There's no right or wrong, no judgment on that. But they're playing on defense.
It's all about protection, isn't it? Everyone's trying to protect themselves.
What do you think men are trying to protect themselves from?
It's tough out here for men, okay? Because I get DMs from men as well, and I coach men actually.
Do you?
Yeah, I do one-to-one sessions now.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've had a lot of male clients. Like,
interesting.
yeah, and it's I love it. It's really interesting actually.
Okay, what's enlighten us? What's the main thing what's the main obstacle challenge they're having?
Right, yeah. So the main thing, they want to get their ex back. So they see my videos on TikTok. They're like, hey, like, you're great. Like, can you help me get my ex back? What do I need to do to get this woman back? So there was one gentleman that I was coaching. We did like 8 weeks of coaching. And he was trying to get back his ex who was an avoidant. And he was like an anxious guy, like a severe anxious guy.
Right.
And his ex kind of like broke up with him. And then she sort of like was like, she went off, did her own thing. And then she sort of got back in touch with him and was sort of breadcrumbing him because she, I guess, missed the comfort and maybe the love that he gave her, but she didn't actually want to return.
It was the security
she missed. Messing with his head.
Yes.
And he's an anxious attacher, bless him. And so it was like he would become strong. He was working on himself. He was doing a lot of like self-development and he was on a healing journey. But then she'd come back in and she'd be like, can I come over? Can we watch a movie? And he'd be like, oh, I'm weak, like I crumble, right? And it was this constant back and forth. It was like rinse. She was doing this rinse and repeat with him, rinse, repeat. Yeah. And every time she comes back, he just falls even more because he's still in love with her. So it's that wound is just getting bigger and bigger, right? And so we just did this like 8-week program together. And in the end, really and truly, what he realized about himself was that yes, he has a very severe anxious attachment style, and obviously that comes from his childhood.
Yes.
But also he noticed that how he was always putting her feelings before himself. Like he would say things to me like, oh, I hope that's not too much for her, but what if I ask her that and she gets a bit uncomfortable? I said, look, do you see what you're doing? I said, you are far too focused on her and how she feels, and you're neglecting yourself. And that's not attractive to women. And that's what I helped him realize, that the way he is, yes, he's a very kind, pure soul, but women need to see that you are also like quite like fearless and quite ruthless as well. Like, because women are attracted to those kind of men.
Yep.
And he wasn't showing those qualities. Yeah. But every time she tried to come back for a bit of comfort and she'd breadcrumb him, he'd catch those breadcrumbs.
100%. I could tell me what you think.
Yeah.
I think fundamentally, women can't be with a man that they feel they can easily manipulate.
Yes. 100%.
And her coming back and forth yes, I agree. I don't think she was coming back for him. She was missing the security of the relationship he provided, right? His love, his comfort. But what it demonstrated was that she can still easily manipulate him.
Yeah.
And so ultimately, he was never going to get her back that way. He was never going to get her back. I completely agree. It's interesting because since you're coaching guys now, I'm curious because obviously I primarily coach women.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I get to see a side of women and men. I get to see a side of women in terms of what their struggle is, what their inner thoughts are, what their insecurities are, and especially the past year with some of the clients, some of the women I've worked with, I'm like, wow, I didn't realize how much this was a thing. But also seeing how guys are on the romantic relationship front, being on the receiving end, right? Because obviously they're coming to me with these situations. So for you, I guess what I'm curious to know from your experience is, has there been any inner like thoughts or struggles that guys that you've seen have that you didn't realize before? And have you seen women in a new light since you're seeing the receiving end of their romantic energy? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, gosh. Well, yeah, like it's definitely been very eye-opening for me coaching men, definitely. And I love it. It helps me a lot with my content as well for the ladies because I can give them like advice. But the thing that I noticed and the thing that was most popping up with men is that a lot of them struggle so much when they break up with someone. Like, and maybe I just kind of grew up thinking that men were just like these very strong, kind of like heartless people. Like,
no, we're human too.
Yeah, but recently I've learned that like men struggle so much. Probably I would say even more than women, because the women, I'm coaching the women who are going through breakups, but we're like on week 2 or week 3, we're like glowing up. We're like, yeah, so give me your calendar. What are you doing? All right, you got Pilates. Like women have a brand new identity after a breakup, whereas men, I feel like they process it completely different to women. They have late reactions and it just hits them like a ton of bricks, and then they can't sit with that pain or discomfort. So then they try and seek validation outside, but then that's when you spiral as well. And that was what a lot of my male clients were doing. They were just like, I broke up with my ex like 6 months ago and I just can't forget her. I can't get over her. She recently posted this on TikTok. Do you think this means anything about me? And it's crazy. It's like the way that men are so like heavily affected by breakups. And not just that, it's like the aftermath of it as well. Because now when they're getting into their other relationships, they actually haven't dealt with the messy stuff. They haven't dealt with that pain. So now what they're doing is they've gone on a dating app, they've matched with another girl, but he's still carrying all that trauma from his last relationship. So now he can't even communicate with this girl. So now the relationship's ended before they've even had a chance, because he still has all that past trauma and all those unprocessed emotions from that last relationship. And it's just a vicious cycle.
Yes, it is so true that generally breakups are harder on men. As in like men cope less well with breakups than women do in general. I wonder, there's a couple of things that come to mind why. I think a lot of the time, so if the girl ends the relationship, I think a lot of the time she's checked out months before, 2 or 3 months before. So she's already started almost getting over it while she's still in it. Guys, I don't think guys really do that much. But I agree. I think it's a reflection of how different men and women handle their emotions. And I think a lot of guys try and run from sitting in that discomfort. And so, like you said, they look for that validation, whatever it is, to cope with that. But I think to get through it, like you have to be able to sit in that discomfort.
And a lot of men can't regulate their own, I guess, like nervous system. They don't know how to like literally soothe themselves. So then they're going on dating apps or they're hooking up with some random person in the bar, and they don't actually want to do that. I had a guy who said to me, I went out just because my friends told me that I had to do it. And he was like, I really didn't even want to do that. He was like, I never even used to go out to bars and like hook up with girls in bars. And he was like, I felt so crap afterwards. And so we did this like program together where it was like getting him back to like, first of all, getting him to a secure place so that he wasn't like, I guess, seeking validation from outside, like trying to hook up with girls and things like that, and like working on himself and like bringing out his strengths.
Yes.
Because he kind of lost himself after that breakup, which is, it's crazy. Like,
yeah, it's true. It's one, I think a breakup for a lot of people is one of those emotional,
it's like a death,
turmoil
isn't it?
times. Yeah. That you need people to support you.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, it is almost kind of like losing a family member.
Yeah.
But because men are so used to having to deal with their emotions on their own, they think, okay, cool, I'm just going to deal with this on my own. And that's why they struggle. It
all comes to the surface.
Yeah.
And then you're forced to deal with it. And it's painful.
So true. It's so true. And how about, has there been a side of women you now see? Because obviously you've been coaching guys dating women. Has there been something in terms of, oh, this is what guys are getting? Or
yeah, so what I'm seeing with women is that, of course, they're affected with the breakup, but the way that women are seeing breakups these days is almost like this whole like turning my pain into power.
Right.
So most of the women I'm coaching are like, I want to level up. I just broke up with someone. I want to like adapt a new mindset. I want to adapt a new identity. I want to learn how to rewire my brain. I want to master the law of detachment. So like women are coming in like, I want a new identity. Like I don't want to be that version that I was when I was in that relationship with that guy. I want to level up so hard that I have to reintroduce myself. That's where women are right now. They're investing in like mindset coaches. They're investing in like relationship therapists. They're doing whatever they can. And I've noticed that a lot. They're doing whatever they can. It's like the highest level of self-development I've noticed. It's very like, I'll do anything.
I mean, that's really good to use that brain to power, I guess, you know, for that self-growth for sure.
But it's the way that they're seeing breakups now. They're like, oh, I just broke up with someone. Guess I'm just going to level up. That's how they're using it. Whereas the guy's like still sending her flowers. Like, I still love you. Like,
wow. See, guys.
So there's a big difference between how the men and women are processing these breakups. It's almost like women are like, yeah, break up with me and watch what happens.
Okay, I get that. I have a question on women breaking up. If a woman feels that she could never do better than the man that she's with, would she still break up with him even if the relationship is not going well?
That is a really good question. I think she wouldn't break up with him. And I've actually seen it. I've seen this happen to women a lot where they will date a man who is basically out of their league.
Yeah.
And he's pretty much superior to her. And she is almost like the golden retriever girl, right? She's the one pandering after him. And those relationships, I've seen them, they're the worst dynamics. Because
I don't think so. I think they're the best ones.
But I think the man is always making that woman feel like she's not good enough.
So was he doing something?
Yes, because here's how I see it, because I feel like there's a psychology behind this. I feel like those kind of men, in fact, any kind of man, any human actually, if you put them in a relationship with someone where they know they're better than that person, I feel like something happens to us as humans where we instantly abuse that control. We abuse that power.
So I hear you. It is true.
Yeah.
That if you want to test someone's character, you give them power. That is very true. But that is a reflection on his character, not because the dynamic is wrong. Because if I'm being completely honest, with the exception of maybe one or two women, because they were like 15 years older than me, if I'm being honest, every woman I've been with, either serious or more chilled, I have been in a better position than them. Right? Like they have looked up to me, or they've seen me as, wow, like I want to either get there or see me as the quote unquote superior, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think part of the way I've been raised, and maybe because I have younger sisters as well, it's like, I'm going to use this power to create an experience for us that is fulfilling.
Right.
So yes, you're right. If you want to test anyone's, the phrase is, if you want to test a man's character, give him power. But I think that's a reflection on his character as opposed to the dynamic.
Okay. I agree with you.
Does that make sense?
I do agree with you. I'm just thinking because I get a lot of women who were in that situation, and they say things like the guy is always looking at other women when they're out. So it's things like that. Because he kind of knows he has that power. He has that upper hand. It's
like he knows there's not going to be any consequence to him disrespecting her.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I mean, that's still a testament to his character, though.
Mm-hmm.
It's a test of his character, because it's really easy for the guy who lives on the street to be really polite and positive because he wants something from you. He wants money. He wants help.
Yeah.
But it's when the CEO, right? Because this is why we judge people on how they are with waiters and servants.
Yeah.
Because you have nothing to gain by being good to them.
Yeah.
So if you're good to them, it's just because that's who you are, right?
Yeah.
When you're in a position of power, right? So, and that's a terrible situation that she was in. I'm sorry that she was in that. But it's not because she was with the man that she wants. It's because that the man she wants, there's an element of his character that was disrespectful to the relationship.
Yeah.
Now, I think just because you are the adorer per se, that doesn't mean you can't set boundaries or express, hey, this is important to me. Because just because you're the person who is adoring them, that doesn't mean that they don't have a level of adoration for you.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that they don't love you, they don't care about you, they're not serious about you. The idea is you both are serious and, you know, you are both intentional and want each other.
It's reciprocal.
Right.
Yeah.
But just generally, there's always going to be one who values the relationship a bit more.
That's always the case. That's always the case.
That's always the case, isn't it?
I have a question.
Go for it. Go for it.
And this is, I know that the ladies want to know this.
Yes.
Why do men do this one thing? They lose a good woman. They lose the greatest love of their life, and then they spend the rest of their life, what's the term? Fumbling. They fumble a good woman, right?
Yeah.
The love of their life, and then they spend the rest of their life obsessing over that woman. Why do you guys do that? What is that? Is that like, what's the psychological reason for that?
That's a good question. Okay. So I will answer that. My first question is, did he end it or did she end it?
It's usually when the guy leaves.
When he ends it?
Yeah.
Okay. Go on.
Oh, let me drink some water.
Go on, have some water. I think...
So I'll give you a scenario.
Okay, go for it.
Because a lot of women are basically just saying the same thing. It's when the guy had to leave because of financial reasons or something not aligning in his life. So he's kind of been like, oh, sorry, can't give you the life that you deserve. Bye, left.
I understand.
Yeah. So it's not like somebody cheated or something. It's more like somebody had to leave.
Yes.
Because they perhaps didn't feel mentally or spiritually or physically ready.
Got you. Okay. This is the analogy I will give.
Mm-hmm. We love an analogy.
We love an analogy. Imagine a baseball game. You're up to bat and you have one shot to hit a home run.
Okay.
You have one shot, one swing. You can either swing now with the bat that you have, or you can go away for 6 months and build a bigger bat. So then when you come back, you've got a stronger chance of hitting that home run. What are you going to do?
Okay. Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Right? So for a lot of guys, if you're the woman that he wants, he's like, I love you. I care about you. He has an image of the kind of man he wants to be for you. And maybe that image is also part of the kind of man you've expressed that you want to be with.
Okay.
So if he feels that he's met you, maybe you've connected, you've had this relationship, but he feels that he's not in a position to be the man he wants to be for the relationship for you.
Right.
He would rather go away and become that man and then come back to you when he can.
But the way things are, sorry, I just had to butt in.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
The way things are right now, that woman's not going to be available.
I understand.
Because literally men are like in straight away.
I understand, but I think because here's the thing. If you end the relationship, that door in his head, that's closed forever because you ended it.
Right.
There's
so they feel like they can kind of come back.
But if he ended it, it's like the door's not quite closed because I walked out.
Yeah.
She's still here. She's still in the house, but I walked out.
Right.
So maybe I can still come back in when I have more. Now, you're right. He may come back and she's left the house. She's gone.
So sad.
That can happen.
Yeah.
But if he's in the house and she walks out, there's nothing you can do about that.
Okay, interesting.
So this is why I was like, it's different. This is why it's important. Did he end it or did she end it? Because if he ended it and he comes back trying to, etc. Now, sometimes I understand why guys do this, but sometimes this is where they shoot themselves in the foot because they believe that you won't choose him if he's not the man that he has in his head and if he's not the man that you have in your head.
That is the ultimate form of self-sabotage.
You're absolutely right. It is. It really is.
And it's so frustrating because I've been through it in the past as well with men who like probably didn't feel that they were ready for me.
They don't feel worthy.
They don't feel worthy, but then I'm like, that's a you problem. Like, I know that sounds
He's like, I know, so let me go fix my shit so I can come back when I am worthy. Okay, Sukaina.
I'm sorry, I sound so cutthroat.
No,
but it's true.
It.
I'm like, the way I see it is like, okay, maybe I just have a very strict kind of approach with this.
Yep.
Like, I know what I want and I know the kind of man that I'm looking for. And the way I see it is like, if you're coming to me and you're telling me I can't give you the life I deserve, that like you feel like you can't give me the life that I deserve and you don't feel competent enough, you don't feel capable, you don't have the resources, don't be in my life. Move out the way. Somebody else is going to come and do that.
So that's
how I see it.
I understand.
Yeah.
And I understand why you're saying that because that is operating from a place of detachment.
I like, you couldn't pay me to care right now.
So I understand. But remember, this is an issue of his own self-worth because he believes she will not choose me if I'm not this person. And I'm not this person yet.
But I'm also not I'm not like a rehab for broken men.
But that's why he's leaving you.
Yeah, great. Leave. But you're broken.
Well, what I mean is this. If he believed that you would stay with him through thick and thin.
Yeah, a lot of guys say that. I don't understand
He would not leave. He wouldn't leave. If he was like, I know this girl is a ride or die.
Right.
I know I'm not there yet, but when I get there, I will reward her for staying with me.
I think they do leave. I disagree with you, and I'm going to tell you why.
Tell me why.
I'm going to tell you why because wrong. I think some guys would honestly rather self-sabotage their own happiness than tap into that vulnerable place that they're really scared to go into and just tell that woman, I'm not ready. I can't give you those things.
But they do say that. You just said that they do.
Yeah. But then they're not, the way I see it is like, they don't, let me think how, because it made sense in my head. Give me a moment. No. So they will say that they're not ready and then they'll leave. Mm-hmm. But then the way I see it is like, they will leave without kind of, no. Let me start again.
They do say that.
No, I got it. Sorry, it made sense in my head. Okay. Right. So, you know, when you said that the woman, it's depending on the woman. If he felt like she was a ride or die.
I'm not holding her responsible for his self-sabotage.
But it's his mind, right?
But if he thought that, he wouldn't stay. He wouldn't leave.
Yeah, yes. Exactly. So I disagree with that. Okay. Because I think some men, even when they know they have the good woman who will stick by them, they will still choose to operate from ego and leave without being vulnerable. That's the way I see it. So they would rather save face. That's how I see it. They're saving face because they don't want to drop that mask. They would rather be like, I will lose the greatest love of my life, but I just won't be like, okay, so will you stick by me then? Because I know you will, right? They're not even willing to explore that.
Yes.
They'd rather just go.
They're not
and seek less.
Sure, I understand. They're afraid to even explore if she would stay with him. You're right.
They won't even entertain that conversation because they're operating from ego and they are just ultimately too scared.
If you're loving this episode and these kinds of conversations, then I want to give you something. We recently launched the Kits Angels community. This is a sisterhood for women who are tired of what the dating scene has given them and are ready to take their love lives to the next level. It's a space for you as a woman to not be alone in your journey to love, where we learn, talk, and share our experiences as part of a strong sisterhood, with some leadership and guidance from yours truly, of course. Not to mention never before seen videos from me on how I've led dozens of women to meeting great men. And so as a thank you for watching this episode, I'm giving you a month's membership completely complimentary on me. Just click the Kits Angels link below, and when you join the group, message me the code phrase Angels Podcast, and I will pay for your membership. Now back to the episode. Well, that's insecurity, but that is still a reflection of him not believing. Like, okay, if he was like, okay, if we explore this, he's like, there's a 50% chance that she will stay with me, be ride or die, or 50% chance that she's going to leave. Mm-hmm. He thinks he has a better chance of becoming a better man and coming back to her. So that is still a reflection of him not trusting and believing that she would stay. Because here's the thing, let's just be real, right? We hear all the time women saying their standards of what they want in a guy. Yeah. All the time. I remember I saw this post on Instagram 2 days ago. It was this young 20-year-old American, he was like East Asian but American, and he bought his girlfriend like $150,000 car for Valentine's Day. Okay. Right? Do you know how many comments women were putting there? That's the bare minimum. Oh, really? Oh, wow. That's the bare minimum? Oh, yeah. Women's standards are through the roof. That's crazy. Yeah, yeah. That's crazy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we hear all the time of women saying, guy's got to be doing this. He's got to be doing this. He's got to be this. He's got to be this. He's got to be this. And so if a guy's like, oh, I'm with a girl who's gorgeous, successful, intelligent, emotionally intelligent, got her head screwed on, and he believes that that's the kind of man that she wants. Mm-hmm. If he's not measuring up, but she thinks that he is, because here's the thing, like you said, people put their best foot forward. People can put their best foot forward for a month, a year, and it's only after the year that you go, oh, I didn't realize that that's actually to you. Yeah, it's like, oh, that's actually not true about you. Yeah, or this doesn't line up, or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. Because the more you let someone in, the more they get to see who you really are. Yeah. Right? So if it's got to a point where she is still enamored and she's still choosing him for what he has presented to her, which can be true, right? That's not saying that he's pretending to be someone else, but there is what he shows her, and then there's the rest of him. If he feels the rest of him doesn't line up to what she wants, then the reason he will rather walk away, because he thinks once she sees that I'm not the kind of man that she says that she wants, I will lose her forever. At least if I can maintain being the man that she wants in her head and then come back, that's a better chance. But that's fear-based thinking. You're absolutely right. I'm not saying it's right. And people need to get help for that. Invest in yourself and work on rewiring your brain. So let me ask you a question. Mm-hmm. If you're with the kind of guy that you want, I'm saying hypothetical, but we kind of talked about this, who does show up for you in those ways, and then he does start going through hard times, and you've expressed yourself about the kind of man you want to be with, build a life with, etc. And he does go through those hard times, and he is going through that. He doesn't know if or when he's going to come out of it. And he's open and honest. He's like, look, the way I was showing up for you for the first 3, 6, 9 months, etc., I still love you, I still care for you, I can't do those things anymore. Okay. Are you staying with him? If he can sit me down and have that honest conversation, just like how you said it just now, I would. Why would you stay? Because if I felt like he had so many other qualities, okay, and I know I'm going to get called out for this because the women are going to be like, but you tell us don't see potential, Sukaina. But listen, it's not about that. It's not about that, okay? I'm with you on this, but carry on. There's potential, but then there's also like
seeing that somebody actually really does have those qualities, right? Like if a guy is driven, he is ambitious, he is intelligent, he is good with money, he is a natural born leader, like all these things, he has these masculine provider qualities, and I've seen them with my own eyes. Just because you don't have that kind of money right now doesn't mean you're not going to have it in a few years' time. And I believe in you. I know that you can get us through this. Like, that's the type of woman I am. But only if I see those qualities in you in the beginning. And if I see that you genuinely have them, I'm not going to be panicking, because I know you'll get us out of this mess. If you are a true born leader and you are a problem solver, I know you can get us out of this mess. And I'm going to hold your hand while we do it together.
Okay. I love that.
Yeah.
And while I love that beautiful sentiment, I want to ask then on that, is the clock ticking?
What, so for me?
No, that's what I mean. So let's say he comes to you with this and you're like, because you're absolutely right. You're like, if you didn't see those qualities in him, because people can fake having a nice car.
Yeah.
People can fake having a nice place. That car could be leased. That place could be their cousins and they're not telling you. Yeah. Right? But ultimately it's the qualities he has in him, right?
Yes.
Because if somebody has these lifestyle things, but they lack those qualities, you'd be like, how does that make sense?
Exactly.
Right? So I get it. You're like, I wouldn't be with you if I didn't see these qualities. It's not because of the lifestyle you have. That's a representation of the qualities that you have, but it's actually the qualities you're choosing, 100%. How long are you staying for in that rough situation? A year? 3 years? 10 years? For him to come out of this situation and get you both to a better place?
Well, I would stay probably for a year. Yeah.
A year? That is nothing. That is nothing.
But a lot can change in a year.
Run, go.
No, if he's got all those qualities, if he's got all those masculine provider qualities and he's a problem solver and he's going to do it, he'll get it done. He will draw up a plan.
A year is nothing.
Yeah, but you've got to at least get us from A to B. You've got to at least, go up a little bit. For example, if we've got nowhere to live, like in a few months' time, I would like to see that, we're living somewhere or we're doing something.
Well, progress, but I'm talking about...
I need to see progress.
Yeah, but I guess I'm talking about getting back to where he was, where you guys were. A year?
I think a year. I think a lot can happen in a year. And I've always said to myself that if I got engaged to a guy, I would always give him 1 year to prepare himself. Then I want to get married. So that's always been my rule.
What do you mean?
So like, for example, if somebody wanted to, if somebody proposed to me, right? But then they weren't like fully financially ready for like that big wedding and everything. I've always said I'll give them 1 year to prepare. Is that not enough?
How much do you think a wedding costs? No, hold on. Let me rephrase. The wedding you want, how much do you think that costs?
Okay, I understand. The wedding that I want probably does cost a lot of money.
How much?
I don't know, probably well over 50 grand.
Okay, let's say 50.
Yeah.
How many people do you think can save 50 grand in a year?
This is what I'm saying. Date the kind of people that you know can give you the life that you want. This is what I tell women.
So what I'm trying to say is, this is why guys run.
Really?
Yes.
Why?
You just proved it. Because you said if you can't do it within a year. You
can't get everything done in a year. Like, I'm sure you had money before that, no?
Yeah, but I'm talking to save 50 grand in a year. Unless you are pulling, even people who are pulling $250,000, they're not saving 50K in a year.
But then that's when I would say have a conversation with the person that you're with and then be like, okay, I can compromise.
Okay, all so if he says, okay, babe, I can give you the wedding you want,
yeah,
it's gonna take me 3 years.
That's fine. But I need something. I've always said this, like I need some sort of compromise. Like, for example, if I date a guy and let's say he says to me, I'm not fully ready to get married to you, I'd be like, okay, propose to me because I need some form of commitment before. That's my compromise.
Wait. He said he's not getting married, so he should propose to you. That makes no sense.
Yeah, because you can propose and then you can wait. So you can propose to somebody.
Yeah.
And then you can wait until actually fully getting married.
But then wouldn't it make sense for him to propose when he's ready to get married?
No.
No, actually, no. Especially since you said he's got a year.
No,
he
should
definitely
women
propose.
have deadlines. Women have deadlines these days. They're very like, this needs to happen. Otherwise, I'm out. That was what I said to the last guy. I was like, he actually asked me, he brought up a conversation and was like, what is your time frame for marriage? He brought this up. And I was like, 1 to 2 years. I'm not going to lie. Like, I'm 30. And he was like, no, I get it. I fully get it. And he was like, my time frames, I think he said something crazy like 4 years. And I was like, I'm gone.
I would not propose to him within a year because I don't even know who she is. Because everybody has, like I said, people can have a front, put their best foot forward for a year. I'm going to see that and then commit my life to you? No way. At least
I did say 1 to 2 years. So,
I say at least 2 years. Minimum.
I think it depends on the woman. I really do. I'm not going to lie to you. There's so many women right now, they are saying deadlines because it's age. They have to be mindful of that. As much as we want to sit here and like kind of...
No, you're right.
As a woman, like I've done it to myself. I'm not going to lie. Like I've gaslighted myself and gone, have plenty of time. I've hit 30. Like I'm not here to just like date someone. If I'm the next guy that I do date, I'm like, this is what I want. But the crazy thing is, right? So this is insane. So like the last person that I dated had this kind of issue and was like, I'm not ready.
How old was he?
30.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, he was like, I'm not ready. So I was like, cool. Like, I'm not going to sit here and wait for you to be ready. Like, I've got things to do. So as soon as he left,
I've got babies to have.
I'm like, I'm going to find somebody who is ready. Like, I'm sorry, this is how it is. It's very cutthroat. But then it's like, so as soon as he left, got out of the picture, all the men that came into my life wanted marriage within like 3-4 months. So then I was like, whoa, so what's going on here?
Yeah,
But they're ready.
I was going to say, and this is what I'm saying, right? So if a man is ready for marriage, let's say he's single, but he's ready for marriage, then obviously that's the pool of guys you would choose to date, right? Because it sounds like with this guy, it wasn't that he didn't want to marry you, but he wasn't ready for marriage.
Oh yeah, he was not ready at all.
So yeah, because if you get guys who are like, especially guys, if they're older, like late 30s, early 40s, they're like, I'm ready to have a family, settle down, they're marriage minded, then yeah, if they're like, cool, I'm looking for a woman I can marry, I'm looking to get married. And so, yeah, that can definitely be fast tracked 100%. I have a question about that actually, because I know you said, you're 30. Is there like a massive switch in a woman's mind when it comes to dating and relationships when she hits that 29, 30, 31 age?
Definitely.
Like, what is that switch? What is it? What are you before? And then what does it kind of switch to?
Yeah. So I think definitely when you hit those kind of like, I would say even like, late 20s. Yeah, you feel that switch. It's like you feel it in your core that you need to get a move on. That's just how you feel as a woman. Like mentally, spiritually, everything. You're like, okay, if a man's not going to marry me, I'm out the door. Like that's how you are. And I know a lot of women that are like that. They're very like, oh, I gave him a deadline. He said he's not ready. I'm out the door. Bye. Like that's just how they are. Very rarely will you get women being like, he said he was not going to be ready in 5 years, so I'm just going to wait around for 5 years. They're not doing that anymore. Well,
I understand that. I guess it ultimately comes down to, are you prioritizing having the family, or are you prioritizing choosing the right man? Because if you're going to be like, okay, I'm going to choose the right man to have a family with, then there may have to be an element of patience. But if you're prioritizing having the family and having marriage, where you're more willing to compromise, essentially you either compromise on the man or you compromise on the time period.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I think there's no guarantee, right?
There's no guarantee.
Even if say like a guy says, oh, I promise I'll be ready in 5 years. We get to 5 years and he's not ready. Then what?
It's true.
I'm now 35.
There's no guarantee.
As women, you have to be very strict, very cutthroat. Set your deadlines. That's what I say.
So that means they're willing to compromise on the man, not the time period.
Yeah. Because the way it is like there are men out there who are ready.
Yes.
And they're going to be just as great.
Yeah, I would say, and you tell me, I would say though, they're usually somewhere between 7 to 12 years older though.
Yes.
Because I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I'm 30 as well.
Yeah.
A lot of my friends are anywhere between the age of like, actually most of them are older than me. So anywhere between the age of like 28 to 36, right? Even up to 40 actually. And especially guys who are like in their early 30s.
Yeah, they're not ready.
they do not date women in their 30s for this reason.
Yeah, they're not ready.
Because they're like, I know that if a woman's in her 30s and she wants a family and stuff, she's looking to get engaged within the next 18 months, and I am not ready for that. 100%. So then here's my question then, because I do hear sometimes from women who are, let's say they are in their, like, let's say they're 33, 34, and they're saying that, oh, guys their age won't date them. Guys their age are dating younger women, right? Is that technically then the right thing for those guys to do? Because essentially,
the ones who can't commit?
So the guys who are in the 30s that maybe around the same age.
Who can't commit, not ready to commit.
It's not that they can't commit, but they're just not looking for marriage within the next 24 months.
Yeah. Right? Is it right for them to date younger?
Is it essentially better for them to date younger?
It is absolutely right. And I actually advise them to do that because they need to be leaving the older women alone and going, like, I think this last guy that I was speaking to, I even advised him to do that. I was like, I think you should be with a younger girl. I think you should look at like 23, 24, even 22, because he even said that he had problems with older girls kind of around the late 20s mark. I think one girl wanted him to meet her parents like after a month or 2 or 3. Yeah. And he was like, oh, this is too fast. But he kept having this issue with girls. But then he was like, but I'm attracted to the older girls. Like I'm attracted to the mature girls because they have the mindset. But I was like, you're going to have to compromise.
So even if those, because I hear that, that's usually, I think that's an exception to the general what happens. A lot of the time it's, sure, I guess it's the whole thing of guys are attracted to young attractive women, for sure.
Yeah.
It's a thing. But so you're saying even if like a 33-year-old woman wants this 34-year-old guy, he should still go younger.
If he doesn't feel as a man he's spiritually ready, mentally ready, and financially ready, he should leave that woman alone.
Let's say he is, but he just doesn't want to. Not that he isn't in a position that he is, but he's just not looking within the next 2 years.
Yeah, if he doesn't want to take that step, he needs to go and find somebody that is wanting the same things as him. That is 100%, also,
I agree.
Because what's happening a lot, and I get women messaging me all the time, they're having these issues with guys who are not ready to get married or say like they don't want to or they're not in that phase yet, but then they still want to keep those women. They're like, no, she's such a great woman. I'm not going to like pass up this opportunity, but you need to let these women go.
I mean, she can just walk away. Yeah. I mean, that's what they're doing, right?
But they keep coming back.
Sure, I get that.
This is what's happening.
Do you think less men want to get married today?
Yes.
Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I think, well, obviously we have a cost of living crisis, the current climate as well. Like we can't ignore that. I think it is really hard out here for men. And also I think men don't see the benefits of getting married anymore. They really don't.
That's
like they're not getting much. This is how they feel, I think. Women have become a bit more masculine, I would say. So men are kind of like, well, we're not even getting your feminine energy anymore. You're just like detached and you're like running the shots. And also I think they feel like women's standards are through the roof, almost like unattainable these days. It's like, you know, how can we reach women's standards? Because the thing that I'm seeing the most now is men are not even approaching women outside anymore. They're terrified to approach women, and I'm getting DMs every day with men saying like, oh, we don't even want to date. We don't want to date. We don't want to date you guys.
There is a growing.
That's why I said we got a dating crisis.
It's true. There is a growing percentage of guys who are not seeking dating or relationships with women. Yeah. And a big part of it is because there's no nice way to put this, so I'm just gonna speak for the guys. One, a lot of them feel that women are asking for too much for too little of what they bring to the table.
I've been hearing that a lot.
Just being honest, like she wants him to be this, and this, and she thinks her having sex with him is enough value for her to bring to the table. Or like she's like, I am the table. It's like, no, a relationship, you both should be bringing things to each other.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So one, they think that the price is too high. Two, the standards thing. Some of them say they want, you know, Superman. And the truth is, Superman doesn't exist, right? And then the third thing is that unfortunately, he can still get access to sexuality with like, you know, with porn, adult content, OnlyFans.
Yeah.
So he can still get enough sexual satisfaction through that exposure.
That's it.
That the risk of actually pursuing it with a real woman just doesn't seem attractive anymore. It's the same with like dating apps and approaching.
Yeah.
The second dating apps came out, approaching went down significantly because he doesn't have to risk you not fancying him. He doesn't have to risk you taking it the wrong way or being called a creep. He can just go, cool, if she likes me, we will match. If she doesn't, we won't. So it removes the risk a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But I have a question, bit of a harsh question, but I know you can take it. The whole thing of like the standards that women have in their heads. Because a lot of guys wonder, do women ever get to a point where they either realize that doesn't exist or like that's just not the man that she's going to get?
Wow. What a question. I feel like...
I want to establish that it's not that he's not a good man, but we're talking about caliber and quality, right? We're talking about caliber.
I think the situation is that women are just needing more from men these days, right? Like women are needing, for example, like what your grandma needed from your granddad is not what we're needing from men these days. We need more. Like your granddad just had to go make money, come home, bring some food on the table, say a few sweet words, and that was it. And your grandma was happy and she was content and they lived a happy life, right? And they weathered the storms together. Nowadays, it's like, no, women want more.
Why?
They need you to be like, not only you need to be that masculine provider man, you also kind of need to be like spiritually aware. You need to be like on some sort of a healing journey. You need to be emotionally intelligent. You need to be like so many things. They need you to be everything. Their life coach, their best friend, their like therapist. Like a lot is needed from you guys now because women's standards are just getting higher and higher.
So I'm going to be honest. This is where they are delusional. That doesn't exist. Like how
Delulu.
like to think that you're going to get all of that in one person is not a thing. It's not like, how can you say, I want you to be my teacher, but also my best student. I want you to be my therapist, but also like, let me be your therapist. Like, I want you to be the masculine provider, but also be my feminine best friend I can go shopping with.
Yeah.
What is that? Like, what you're, not you personally, but what you're asking for, if that's what you're saying you want, like, you're never going to find it. Never.
But that's why we have such a dating crisis right now. And I've seen it
because the women just
with so many women. Yeah, they come back and they're just like, I don't know if it's entitled. I think what's happened is genuinely speaking, people are really scarred. Like,
right.
Like not to get all deep, but like people really have unprocessed relational trauma that they haven't dealt with, men and women on both sides here. So it's not just we're blaming the men, like it's everyone, right? And the problem is with that is like the more you go through these negative experiences in life and you get scarred, those emotions just get pent up inside of you, right? And they bottle up and they bottle up and then the jar gets full, right? And trauma is trapped in the body.
Yes.
So most of the time people are self-sabotaging in relationships. Most of the time these women are saying, well, I want this and I want this. It's self-sabotage, right? Not only is it self-sabotage, it's also a way of like, having that control, because in the last relationship, she was probably with a Dusty who she didn't get nothing from. And she felt like she was left depleted because he just siphoned her energy, right? So this is what's happening. They're going from one extreme to another and people just don't know where they can just be in that safe space, right, with somebody. And everyone's got relational trauma over here. So no one's really healing. Not everyone's investing in life coaches and therapists, or not even that. No one's really even like going to heal themselves because people would rather just numb the pain by going on dating apps or hooking up with people on random nights out. So it's like what's happening is no one's having these conversations. No one's being vulnerable with anyone. Vulnerability is not cool anymore. Nobody wants to be vulnerable anymore. So people are getting into relationships and they're going, right, accept me for who I am. And then I'm going to try and work out what's going on in your mind. You're going to try and work out what's going on in my mind. Oh, we can't work it out. We're going to split up. That's it. We're going to ghost each other. Why? When really what you should have done is you should have told the person, hey, I have an avoidant attachment style. I tend to go really silent. Like I need my space. Like for example, if I get triggered, I need to step back. I might stonewall you a little bit, but I promise I'll come back.
Yep.
But people can't do that. They can't communicate these things because they haven't gone on a healing journey. They haven't sat with themselves. So they're going in relationships and they're putting on these masks and they go, no, I don't have an anxious attachment style. What are you talking about? No, I'm fine. No, you're not. Your behavior is not normal.
Very true. No, I agree. I think that, you may disagree, I think that the more people, and I know we're talking about women here, they did that healing within themselves, the more they could actually see how they could be happy with a really normal average guy.
Most likely, yeah. But then that work is so painful that a lot of people don't want to go on that work. Like, they don't want to do that work.
I mean, okay, I get that, but then ultimately the results that they're getting, they only have the person that they're looking to be responsible for that is the person in the mirror. No, they can't 100%. Say like, oh, it's because I can't find a good guy or I can't find a good girl, 100%. Whatever. It's like, there are good men and good women.
No, right? 100%. There is. And it's up to you to find them. But then you're not going to find them if you don't feel good in yourself.
I agree, but you're not going to attract them if you're dating purely for, if you're dating for the wrong kind of values, then you can come across them, but you don't attract them.
Yeah.
You can come across them because they are everywhere at this event, at, this press night, whatever it is, right? They're there. And if they see that, oh, you're that kind of person who chooses for those right values, right? So it's like, for example, like, it's not, let's say like dinner dates, right? It's not that a guy, and because a lot of guys are saying, oh, let's go for a coffee date first, because they want to make sure that the woman is actually interested in him, not what he can do for her.
Right.
Right? The reason a guy will say, let's go on a coffee date, isn't because he doesn't want to treat you if you're the woman he chooses, but he wants to see, are you the kind of character that wants to get to know me and will appreciate the things I do for you? As opposed to the woman who just says, nah, if you're not doing a dinner date, then I'm out, because if you can't do this for me, I'm done. And it's like, okay, that's fine. There's no right or wrong. It's a different approach.
I understand. I do understand. And I really do. I see both points because, as I said, I coach men, so I really get to hear their stories. And I do sympathize with them a lot because it's almost like, we always hear what women want, but then like women aren't really sitting to hear men out. Like, they don't even care enough to be like, all right, what do you want? It's like, you guys are always trying to educate yourselves on what women want. Women are not doing the same for you guys.
But this is why
they don't want to.
Well, this is the thing. This is why they are not getting the results that they want with the men that they want.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think if they did listen to men a little bit more, then they would be able to like understand how you guys actually think. But then I just want to go back to the date thing, the coffee date thing that you said, because I had a very, very specific encounter with this. And I wonder if you could shed some light on this and kind of explain the thought process behind this.
Yep.
So a while ago, I was speaking to a guy, hadn't met him, we just texting, talking stage, whatever. And he'd asked me to go on a coffee date, but he'd like, oh, I'm going to take you out for a vanilla latte. So I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I was a bit like, well, coffee's not really sexy. Like, also, I don't really drink coffee. I drink decaf, so that's not really going to work. So I kind of wanted to see if he would do something different. That's so boring, taking me out for coffee. Like, am I going out with a colleague? Like, I needed to see something a bit more. I needed to see, like, for me, I needed to see, like, he really put thought into it. Right? So I declined it. I was like, I'm all right, thanks. Like, no, thank you. This is a bit weird. Like, I don't want to be, like, if I'm going to be pursuing, if somebody's going to be pursuing me, I need to see that you're courting me in a way. That's how I saw it. And he was like, oh, why don't you want to go for a coffee? And I said, I'm not going to lie, it's just not my vibe. Like, it's not my vibe. I thought you'd come with something better, to be honest. I was just direct because it did not impress me. And I'm not going to go and sit and have a coffee with this guy when I'm not impressed. So I was like, no, not good enough for me. Cut him off, whatever. He then came back one day, like a few days later, messaged me back and sent me some long paragraph about how in the past, he's been taken for a fool with girls and like they've not called him back. He's taken them to like Michelin star restaurants. He's taken them to the Dorchester Hotel. And he was like, I promise I am that guy. I know I've like created this like impression that I'm just some dusty guy. He's like, you're probably thinking he just wants to take me for coffee. And then he just like was going in on how like he now regrets it because he was trying to do like a cost-effective date as a form of like, as a way of him protecting himself, I guess. But now he's like, I've kind of shot myself in the foot, and he kind of put like funny emojis. And I was like, oh, so you did all that, but you're not even that guy. Like genuinely, you wanted to treat me.
Yes. So here's the thing.
So what is that about? But then he lost out on a really good woman. And he was like, I'm kicking myself. He's like, because I swear, like I would treat you. And I'm like, no, too late. Because now I don't know if you're genuine or you're weird.
Okay.
Like, too late.
I get you. I get you. It's true.
Yeah.
That many women take men for fools. And they just use them for attention, for nice outings, right? Now, I know you're like, oh, I want a guy to court me. If he wants me, he'll court me. How does he know that he wants you if he doesn't know you? Because here's the thing, and this is what I was saying, right? The coffee date isn't that he can't be that guy, but he wants to see if it's worth his investment because you are genuine about him. If you meet a guy, right, and you're like, I genuinely want to get to know this person. It does not matter if you're on a dinner table or if you're at Starbucks. Doesn't matter. If you looked at a guy, you're like, this is the kind of man that I think I could actually have a good potential with. It would not matter. But what it does is when you say, oh, I have to be taken for a dinner date, you have to spend all this stuff on me, right? What that says is that all you're looking for is for what a guy can do for you, not what you can both bring to the relationship. Because I'm just gonna be honest, like I understand the women's perspective, I get it, but it just comes across as very entitled because he doesn't owe you anything and you don't owe him anything. And this is one thing I say, because this is why there are a lot more girls who are like more escorts and stuff like that. When they're like, hey, a guy has to spend this much on me, that's absolutely cool. You can have that standard. But let me tell you something. If you're gonna have that expectation of him, he's going to have an expectation of you. Don't think you can expect a man to pay £400, £500, £600 for a dinner and he doesn't expect you to be giving him some goody, some good dirty stuff that night.
Wow.
I'm just being real.
Yeah.
I'm just being real. And this is how a lot of girls actually fall into being an escort because they get the lifestyle, but because they have such a casual relationship with sex in their bodies, they're like, well, if me trading sex for this lifestyle, fuck it, I'll do it. So that's why.
Yeah.
Right? And I'll be honest, like, because the thing is, the kind of girl who's like, yeah, I see value in who he is as a man. I'm just going to go for a coffee with him, because you can go for a coffee with him and you can be like, he's not for me. If you know he's not for you, why would you want to go for dinner with him?
Yeah.
Why would you want to spend an entire evening through the entree, the main, dessert and drinks and a bottle of wine if you already know this ain't the guy for me?
I agree. Like, I don't do that. I never go on dates with people if there's not like some level of interest. But for me, I get everything that you're saying. But for me, it's more the intent. It's the intent. Like, it's all about the intent for me because, okay, cool. I'm not, and I've said this before, like previously. When women are saying they want to be courted and they want to see you put in the effort and put in the work, we're not saying, all right, dinner at the Ritz, okay? Men always take it to the extreme. You could actually plan a really cost-effective date that is like under 20 quid. You could take it to a really nice like cafe, maybe
That's
somewhere
what you tried to
like
do.
Aesthetically No, but he's like coffee as in like Costa.
But a cafe, you're going to be having coffee. It could have been a really nice cafe or whatever.
You could go to an activity. This is what I'm saying. Like, I feel like I want to see the thought being put, because the way I see it, and I've spoken to men before, so maybe that's why I have this skewed mentality.
Sure.
But I've had a guy tell me the truth once. He was like, look, when I do a coffee date, he was like, I'm seeing about 3 girls in that day. I'm seeing one at lunch, I'm seeing one on my break, and then and he's like, it's a way of me doing a cost-effective date and getting through the dates. When I heard that, I swear to God, that's never left my mind.
I understand.
I find it so low effort because you can do better. You can do better, and it's not about the money.
I understand. I understand. And sure, I've heard guys do that as well. I get it. But that doesn't make the date any less valid. Because I'll tell you this, that same guy who like, oh, you know, I've had 3 dates this way, I've squeezed in a date for a coffee and I'm going out for dinner next, right? That girl that he goes out for dinner with, let's say it's a first date, right? Let's say they sleep together. Yeah. That's a casual girl in his eyes. Right. Goes on a coffee date with you, be like, Sukaina is actually really great. I'm actually going to take Sukaina out. You go have a nice dinner and then things progress. So his first date, because here's the thing, I'll be honest with you. Guys who are making really good money, a very fancy restaurant is nothing to them.
Yeah.
It's nothing to them. So it's not a good barometer to know an intention because, for example, a guy who's average guy, 9 to 5, average earning salary, whatever, right? Him taking you to a restaurant that's not fancy, that's a lot for him.
Right.
But for you, you're like, oh, I went to Bill's and the other one I went to the Ivy.
Yeah.
Right? But in terms of the investment of the guy, if the guy's like worth loads, he's earning a bunch of money, that's nothing to him.
Yeah,
that's like a coffee date.
Yeah.
So this is what I'm saying. It's not about what the date is. It's about what the intention is. And to be honest, if a guy, this would be a red flag. If he's like, hey, do you want to come over to mine? Red flag.
Yeah.
Because he's not even willing to get to know you.
Yeah.
Right? But sometimes because of guys' experiences, because other women have been toxic, manipulative, etc., they're like, what happened before was they would be choosing a woman purely because of her looks. And then they got burned. And I would say rightfully so. Because you should never just choose a woman because of her looks. You should be choosing because of who she is and her character. So the coffee is seeing who you are and your character. Once he's like, cool, she's great, then I'm going to take her to the Michelin. Then I'm going to plan a nice date for the London Eye or on the boat and all of this stuff.
Right. Okay. I understand.
And if I'm being honest, like, correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's just an ego thing, man. I think women
for women?
For women. I think it's an ego thing.
Do you think so?
Because it's like, if you've been taken out for really fancy dinners before and you're like, this guy wants to take from me a coffee, does he know who I am? Does he not know what other guys have done to try and get me? But you're going to try and take me for a coffee? Fuck no. I think that's what it is.
I mean, look, I've been to coffee before, like, you know, but it's not, for me, it wasn't like coffee. It was just the way he asked. It was very much like.
Can I ask you a question? Who's your celebrity crush? You told me this before.
Oh, I don't feel like I have one anymore, but maybe Theo James.
Theo James? Okay. He asked you for a coffee. Are you going?
Yeah.
Why? Why are you going?
I don't know. I mean, he's good looking.
Because there's enough desire that you have for him because of the man that he is, that you're like, I want to get to know who this man is.
Okay.
That's why you're going. That's my point.
Yeah, I understand. But I don't... It could be a mixture. It could be ego, but I also do think it's just women they want to feel like the man is putting in the work. That's how they view it. Because there's just a lot more at risk for women these days, I feel like. Just a lot more.
I think in the early stages, the only person really risking in terms of the investment is men. Because men have to make the investment in the beginning to even get you on the date.
That's the thing. They're refusing to. And then look, for example, this guy, right? Let's use him as a perfect example.
Yep.
So this isn't what he was trying to do. He was basically trying to trick me in a way.
What do you mean?
Well, not trick me, but he was basically trying to pretend to try a different strategy with me. But then afterwards, he realized that wasn't right.
Well, I would personally, if I was saying to him, I have love for you, Sukaina, but I was like, if a girl says that she will not meet you for a coffee and she thinks that she is owed a dinner, she doesn't have enough desire for you, let her go.
But I never said dinner to him. I said you could just do so much better than taking me for a vanilla latte. So
what would have been acceptable for you? That's not dinner.
To be honest, anything really, like a brunch maybe, a quick lunch.
Okay. I think that's fair. But then again, he could still get played. I think it's I understand what you're saying, but yeah, it's because guys have listen. You got to talk to your sisters, man. You got to talk to your sisters because then if guys doing that worked, they would do that.
I hear it. It must be really hard. And I did sympathize with him actually. And I was like, well, I'm really sorry that you've had these really bad experiences.
But I'm out.
Yeah. I was like, but now that you've kind of done this, weird.
I understand. And there's no right or wrong, but I'm just telling you why. I'm just telling you why. Sukaina, we're going to wrap it there. We could always talk for hours.
I know. We could just go on and on and on.
I love it. It's always great chat. Thank you for sharing your energy with us today.
Thank
if people want to follow you, and if guys are watching this are like, hey, I want to get some coaching by this girl.
One-to-one session.
Where can they find you?
You can find me on TikTok, Sukaina Louisa, Instagram, Sukaina TV, and yeah. That's
perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on.
We
appreciate you as always. Guys, go give her a follow, give her a like, all that good stuff. Right. I'm loving the growth. Every time she comes back, it's always something new. We love it.
It's always something new.
Has to be done. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye.